Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Approve Resolution 2022-2023/33 to rescind the non-reelection notice for certificated employee 10106. Additionally, on expulsions, EH 22-23/80, the board voted unanimously to for the expulsion for that student. Under suspended expulsion contracts, the board voted unanimously to place EH 22-23/73, EH 22-23/79, EH 22-23/81 through 83, then EH 22-23/85 through 87. In addition, the board has authorized me to announce that it confirms that the superintendent Azrani has fulfilled all the goals established by the board, and she has the board's full support in doing so. The board will complete the superintendent's evaluation by the next meeting. And as we conduct the meeting tonight, in order to conduct business in an orderly and efficient manner this evening, I will be requiring that all reports to the board in this meeting shall be limited to 10 minutes. What that means is that clock will be set. The clock you will see will be set at 10 minutes when any presentation is made. At the end of that 10 minutes, the microphone will be turned off. This direction is consistent with Board Bylaw 9323 and will apply equally to all parties presenting to the board, including board members and staff and organizations. Now we have comments from the board members. Mr. Steven? Thank you. You have no comments? Thank you. Dr. Yang?
Yeah, May is an exciting time for the students, and I don't know for the students, but for me, there's two events in school that was the most exciting and most emotional for me. The first day of school and the last day of school. So, I just want to congratulate everybody. We had a wonderful graduation for the adult ed school. We're going to have some wonderful promotions and graduations upcoming in the end of May. And so, and then for those who aren't graduating, you're going to have a great summer, and hopefully we see the students again back the fall. But for those who are graduating and getting promoted, best wishes, and a great and wonderful adventure is set to be ahead of you. So thank you.
Ms. Hasty.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations and deepest gratitude to our teachers who are making such an incredible difference in the lives of our young people. Our adult education graduation ceremony was this afternoon. Wow. That takes courage, grit, and commitment on the part of all people involved. Congratulations. Congratulations to Becky Stewart, Teacher of the Year Award from the California Music Educators Association. Yes. Thank you also to her supportive and encouraging administrators, team members, and parents. Everything you do to encourage and help is so valuable. Thank you to the Linda Elementary teachers who took the whole second grade to Yuba College today for a noon recital in their theater. I was super impressed and proud of how well behaved our students were in the audience. Our Ella Elementary School art show was delightful. I appreciate how clearly the study of historically significant artists were represented and shown in the students' work. I especially loved seeing their self-portraits. So speaking of self-portraits, I hope that we are all considering very carefully what kind of self-portrait we are painting with our own lives. Through our attitudes, words, and actions? What kind of mentors are we choosing? What kind of attitudes are we bringing to our jobs and to our families? What input are we allowing to listen to and to watch? How do we behave as we lead in the classroom, on the dais, online, and in our kitchens and living rooms? From whichever position we are in, we are building the lives of the current and future citizens of our community. We get to hold each other accountable. We also get to choose excellence as we help others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Doug Criddle.
Welcome, everybody. I apologize first, there's not enough chairs for everybody, but welcome. Thank you for coming. I had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. With Dr. Asrani and actually go to Capitol Hill and the lobby for all of our local school educational things that are happening here in our area. And I will tell you, we got 150% support from congressmen back there, had their attention, and they did not leave the room. It was very, very exciting. We addressed quite a few issues, one of them including funding for special ed. Any special ed folk out there? Hey, we need that advocacy for special ed. It's hurting us. There was quite a few issues, but I just want to let you know that there's a lot of good things that are coming out from the congressmen and from us to them so that we could push these things forward. And thank you for your support.
Thank you. And Frank Crawford is with us tonight. Thank you. And Gary Criddle. What I'd like to say is, on behalf of the board, I want to take this opportunity to thank the superintendent and our district staff, including our teachers, for all the hard work they do every day. I also want to share the board's concern about the lack of civility. We have observed recently in communications from some employees directed at the superintendent and our administrative staff to promote harmony and respect among the board. All trustees follow the governance standards we established for this body by our bylaws and our governance handbook. To promote civility and respect amongst all employees, I have asked Dr. Asrani to have her staff bring back to the board in our next regularly scheduled meeting revisions to current policies to prohibit bullying behaviors by employees against any employee, including the superintendent, which the board may review in open session for discussion and action. Thank you. Now we have recognitions.
Yep, let's go down. we're starting. I guess we get the 10, we have to do all of the recognitions in this 10 minutes. So we have to be like super snappy.
So you'll say your thing and then I'll say my thing.
And then you'll say your thing.
And you're gonna adjust your mic, or I guess I can reach it.
I'm gonna move over and then you're gonna take over.
And do I go like this?
Yeah, you
Okay,
can.
that's fine.
Yeah. You can even, do you want to go be in the picture? And then come back? Okay. Okay. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Esrani Cabinet. I'm Jamie Larson, Director of College and Careers here at the Marysville Joint Unified School District. Tonight, it is my pleasure to introduce Anna Galvin, who is not only a senior at Marysville Charter Academy for the Arts, but she also is one of those leading the charge for the proclamation that was just signed. And I'm gonna let Anna give you just a little bit about that, about the activity.
Okay. The SEAL team initiated an action to ensure graduating seniors are honored by completing at least 50 hours of community service during high school. The senior SEAL members have already signed the proclamation that we are presenting to the Superintendent and Board of Trustees to sign. Qualified students will be recognized with a teal graduation cord like this. Thank you.
Good evening. It's now on our honor to continue the celebration, and I'm going to begin with those who are in attendance representing our Spelling Bee Award winners. From 4th to 6th grade, Josie Chitwood, who is a first place winner. Representing 7th and 8th grade, also a first place winner, Ryan Delaney. Roman Franco, second place winner. Aaron Lamb, third place winner. And Kaylin Bowen, fourth place winner. And just to let you know, our two first place winners are going to have their names memorialized on this plaque, which will live forever in MJUSD. If I miss, it's also Roman Franco. Thank you. I think there was too much celebration. Mr. Franco, come on up. As we're taking one last picture, can we have one more round of applause for our Spelling Bee Award recipients? And thank you. Continuing with our awards, it's our pleasure to recognize Marysville High School FFA. Last month, Mr. Jacob Flavo finished his FFA speaking season, placing second in the entire state out of 20,000 other students. Congratulations, Jacob. We are also honoring Jacob's coach, Mr. Donald Volz. Thank you. We got to get those pictures going a little quicker. Tonight, we are also recognizing our Blazer Support Center. The Blazer Support Center opened in January of this year, and the staff, along with their therapy Yorkie, Rocky, have been invaluable to the students and the staff at Lyndhurst High School. So today we are recognizing those who support the Blazer Centers, beginning with Caitlin Patterson, G. Yang, Monica Saini, Elva Cortez, and of course, Rocky the Therapy Yorkie. We also want to give a shout out to Rocky's trainers, Andrew and Katie Halstead from Barkley and Company. One more from all of you, please. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. We are also recognizing our April staff and student awardees of the month, and they are students from Johnson Park, Mariella Martinez Adams. From Marysville High School, Joshua Bowles. Also from Marysville High School, Cole Lorton. From Edgewater, Darlene Sparks. And from Arboga, Mila Poggi. And you can't have great students without great staff. We're also happy to recognize some of those today. From Cedar Lane, Tiffany Bautista. From Olivehurst, Miranda Clayton Denton. From Marysville High School, Dr. David Vujovic. From Johnson Park, Constance Franklin. And from Yuba Feather, Tiffany Shelton. One more round of applause for all of our winners. Thank you.
You did so much for saving that.
Thanks, Frank. Okay, we're going to move on. We have comments from school representatives in Marysville High School. Please state your name.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maya Spallino, and I serve as the ASB Vice President for Marysville High School. I'm here today to update you all on all the exciting events happening here at MHS. To catch up from the last few weeks, we have held elections for class and ASB positions for the 23 through 24 school year. I'm very happy to announce that Bailey Dakin will be our new ASB President, and myself will be our ASB Vice President for that next school year. One of our FFA chapter officers, as you've already seen, Jacob Lavelle, has also won second place in state for his FFA job interview team, which is very exciting. Prom was also this last Saturday. The theme was a night in New York, and the junior class sold over 370 tickets. More recently, Student Council has nominated Mr. A as our May Staff of the Month, and Mrs. Grimminger has been nominated as our 22 through 2023 Staff of the Year. We will also have our last blood drive on May 16th, which is next Wednesday. On the 23rd, we have a scholarship awards night, and we are planning our senior send-off rally for the 25th. Finally, graduation is going to be on June 2nd, and that is all for all of our recent events and upcoming events. But I would like to thank all of you for an outstanding school year, and appreciate all the hard work that everyone has put into improving our district. Thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a great summer.
Lyndhurst High School.
Good afternoon, MJUSD community, Superintendent Dr. Asrani Fall, Board of Trustees and Cabinet. My name is Norberto Montero Hernandez, and I've been the Student Board Representative for Lyndhurst High School for the past 10 months. I am glad I was able to represent Lyndhurst High School to the best of my abilities and hope whoever takes my role continues to do so. But before I end, let's get into what Lyndhurst has planned for the last month of school. On May 3rd and 4th, Mr. Walt took 7 students down to Sacramento to compete in the California Industry Education Foundation's Design Build competition. In 2 days, they took a set of plans they created and built a shed from the ground up. After they were finished, they were able to bring that shed home. They completed against 39 Northern California schools and finished in the top 5. Our students worked hard and long hours these 2 days and should be commended for their efforts. Now on the 17th of May, LHS will be holding its College and Career Fair in partnership with YCOE with a total of 36 vendors from 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and will be open to all students in the gym. Moving on to our LHS Music Department, which will be holding its final concert of the year on May 18th. The choir will start from 6 p.m. in room C106, and the band will begin at 6:45 p.m. in the LHS gym. We are thankful for all the support we have received this year, and we are looking forward to developing more exciting adventures for the coming year. On May 18th, we will be having our Multicultural Food Day during lunch, allowing clubs to sell traditional food items. On May 25th, Lyndhurst will be hosting its annual art show at 5 p.m. and the Senior Awards Night at 6 p.m., where our seniors will be awarded. I would like to formally invite the board and cabinet to our Senior Awards Night to celebrate our achievements. Now, our LHS mock trial is competing in an international invitational competition in 10 days. They are excited to compete with teams from around the world via Zoom. They are busy preparing for the competition with help from local attorneys via the Bar Association. Also, some exciting news, Lyndhurst is going to have 2 sections for AP World History next year. Thank you everyone for your time. It has been a pleasure to be up here this year.
Thank you. MCAA.
Good evening. My name is Hope Cross. I'm the student representative of MCAA. NCAA drama students recently finished performing the musical The Little Mermaid. All the students' hard work culminated into a wonderful performance, which I hope you are all able to witness. AP testing is finally coming to a close with just one more test to go. I want to recognize all of the AP students for their hard work and dedication throughout this whole year. Teacher Appreciation Week is this week. To show our appreciation, the students have written personal notes of gratitude. Additionally, the leadership team is preparing a luncheon for all staff members this Friday. MCAA dance students will be performing this Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. in the MHS South Auditorium. This spring recital is open to the public, so I encourage you all to attend. Music Week is from May 15th to May 18th. During this week, music students get to showcase their hard work for all to see. I invite you all to attend these upcoming performances. Monday is beginning and intermediate piano at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Tuesday is orchestra at 5 p.m. and band/drumline at 7 p.m. Wednesday is choir/songwriting at 5 p.m. and advanced piano at 7 p.m. Thursday is beginning and advanced guitar at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. The Senior Showcase is on Friday, May 26th at the MHS South Auditorium at 6 p.m. This is an opportunity for seniors to show off their developed skills one last time before they graduate. Finals week is right around the corner and senior graduation will swiftly follow. Our graduation this year is on May 31st at 7 p.m. If this is the last time we congregate for a district board meeting this semester, I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, North and South Lyndhurst. Okay. Now we have opportunity for employee organizations to address the board. Marysville Unified Teachers Association.
Good evening, Mr. Davis and the board. My name is Angela Hillary Stiegel. I'm president for the Marysville Unified Teachers Association. I want to start my comments this evening by recognizing and honoring the 508 dedicated, passionate, talented, professional educators who have chosen to share their hearts and souls in educating students, our students, the inspiring young people who are the future of our community and our society. The educators of MJUSD give of themselves tirelessly each and every day. Wilma Mankeller once said, "The most fulfilled people are those who get up every morning and stand for something larger than themselves." Every one of our teachers does this. Standing for our students is most definitively standing for something larger than ourselves. We stand for our students and their families and our communities. For me, this quote also speaks to the fact that I have the honor as president of the Marysville Unified Teachers Association to stand for the best teachers, nurses, speech therapists, counselors, and athletic trainers on this planet. I must admit, though, there have been times when doing so has been trying, but not because of the people for whom I stand, but because of the people I and we must stand up to. Currently, we find ourselves in the position of having to stand up to our superintendent. Our superintendent recently laid bare her total, unabashed denial of the problems and issues she is visiting upon not just our teachers, not just MUTA, but upon our district. This denial is not based on a lack of knowledge or understanding. It is based on a lack of integrity. Integrity can be defined as choosing your thoughts and actions based on core values rather than personal gain. I could give a litany, a list of examples of this personal gain motivation that we have seen. However, tonight, with our free speech at risk and with a 10-minute time limit imposed so shortly before we were to speak, I'll focus on just one. I'm sure many of you have heard that MUTA recently started publishing daily Did You Know posts. Posts which are not bullying in nature, but merely truthful. Nothing we have published is untrue, and every bit of it can be verified, as opposed to the district's Did You Know? One of those posts dealt directly with the complete absence of an evaluation of the superintendent on the part of teachers or other employees, which the board has promised us for some time would return, but it has not. The superintendent has staunchly opposed any sort of teacher evaluation of any admin, including herself. So MUTA decided we would do it on our own. And we thought the board and our community might like to know what some of the results look like. We included 12 categories or areas on which our unit members could evaluate Dr. Asrani. Those included effective communicator, understands the impacts of her actions on your working conditions and assures that any added duties to your working conditions are both reasonable and absolutely necessary for student learning. Demonstrates shared decision-making and embraces the role of teachers as decision makers. Achieves and maintains high morale, prioritizes student learning above public relations, and I could go on. The last question asked, Do you feel confident that Superintendent Asrani is appropriately placed in her assignment? 95% responded no. Additionally, people could provide comments if they desire to do so. So I thought I would share some of those with you this evening. Of course, I'll limit the list based on the time now. One person stated, "This is a horrible placement and an abuse of power. If more people, parents, teachers, etc., knew what she was doing, they'd be outraged. I believe she's gotten away with so much already by keeping everyone around her tight-lipped. It's time to let people know exactly who is running our district into the ground." Another unit member responded, "Dr. Asrani doesn't care about MGUSD or the community. If she did, then she wouldn't be cramming all of these programs to make her look good down our throats. We're losing a lot of good people. They are jumping ship and fleeing this toxic environment, and I don't blame them. We are going to be left with incompetent yes men and yes women who will not question Dr. Asrani on anything and just do what she wants them to." Another person responded, "I believe she is insensitive to and oblivious to the shared values of the stakeholders in our learning community and our community at large. She gives the impression of elitism over and disrespect for our communities. Her ideas seem to shift and change often, which creates a sense of chaos, i.e., she acts on a whim. This makes it difficult to clearly see, understand, and implement what is a non-existent shared vision." And still another responded, "I don't think morale has been lower than it is now. The lack of respect and the fact that she only looks out for herself is proof she should not be in this position." And lastly, for this comment period anyway, "It seems as if she is more a politician than educator. Multiple positions have been created at the DO when the needs are in the classroom. In other words, people getting jobs to make the district look good, but support to actually achieve the overarching goals is too far removed from the students in the classrooms." As I've mentioned to this board before, you don't improve education by demoralizing the people who have to do the work every day. And make no mistake, this is happening here. Dr. Asrani's pursuit of personal gain and her complete lack of transparency and her denials and disregard are beyond demoralizing. They're disrespectful and disdainful. I've heard it said, a lousy leader can take a solid team and ruin it, driving the best workers away and demotivating the rest. And as I heard from the board this evening, it's even easier to do it when she has your unabated support.
Because of time limits, Erica Schussler's comment can't be used right now. UNA has presented their presentation. Okay. Sorry, we can't hear you. Will you please come to the mic?
Sorry, I thought I was really loud.
We'll give you, what she left with was something like, give her 4 minutes.
I doubt it'll be 3. That's, no, we're okay, we're okay. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. 4, whoever is doing 4.
Let me make a quick comment. I think I would like to hear what you have to say. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to say is actually to, I'm sorry, just want to say Allison, but Hasty, hi. We used to be in the same school together. Listening to what you said earlier, I just wanted to let you know that I teach kindergarten. I've been teaching kindergarten for 17 of my 18 years in this district. And I teach my students to speak up when they're hurt. Teachers are hurt, and we need to speak up because we are hurt. And here's my actually planned words. I have tried with Dr. Asrani to encourage her to slow down and act as if she's going to be here for years. We just have one thing on top of another thing on top of another thing, and we don't have to turn this ship at a 90-degree angle every other day. We had found out at a dinner, as an example, from one of the Yuba County Office of Ed Association members that MJUSD was taking over their SPED preschool. We had no idea, those of us MUTA members who were in attendance. We had not been asked about it in any way. It had been in the making at least for a year without our involvement. It has impacts to our members. Like, some of those employees will be members of ours and different working conditions than what any unit member we currently have. When we were finally brought into the planning, we were treated like the bad guys for pointing out issues that they hadn't considered. Plans and orders keep coming out of her office without involving anyone. Dr. Asrani had referred to me as her critical friend. I'm blunt with my honesty, and I would speak up when what she was doing would hit wrong or needed to be built on in depth with in-depth planning by stakeholders. After the 2 years prior to Dr. Asrani, with a good guy but incompetent superintendent, I didn't want our district to have to go through another search again for a superintendent. So I told her that I was hopeful that we could work together to address the stress and fear that she brought out in staff. Meanwhile, fearful administrators from both sites and the district office completed a survey about her performance. 100% had no confidence in her as a superintendent, and they were terrified to say anything against what she said. They would not question her. They had become yes people out of fear. Without job security, they did not have the kind of job security that a teacher has. I was asked to provide those results to the board, which I did. The board did nothing with it. I continued to plead with Dr. Asrani to see what we were already doing before she had come, to ask us what issues were of highest priority to us who have been here for so long, and to ask us for ideas on how to address them, to ask us what we need for our students. Instead, it's a whim. It's a, oh, I heard about this. Oh, there's a grant. Let's do this now. Hey, you know, I know you're busy, but why don't we do this now? And at this point, the last text I got from Dr. Asrani, I believe, she told me to stop texting her because I'm no longer her friend. I hope it doesn't have to stay that way.
Thank you. Now we have presentations. 10.1, Special Education Program.
Good evening, board members, cabinet, Dr. Asrani. We are pleased to be here this evening to show a brief presentation on all the activities we've done this year.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Asrani, cabinet members, and community. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening on behalf of the MJUSD Special Education Department. Here this evening is Siobhan Matthews, Director of Special Education. Secondary and non-public school special education coordinator, Amy Eggleston, and elementary coordinator, Lauren Huser. In July of 2022, our team established our special education plan and vision of what we wanted to accomplish. Our overarching goal was to improve teaching and learning through communication, collaboration, and professional development. We work to improve and establish policies and procedures for our teams that support the delivery of high-quality service to our students with special needs. Our top 3 goal areas are collaboration and communication, improving our policies and procedures to increase compliance, and to provide meaningful professional development opportunities to our special education professionals. Who do we serve? We serve all students with an identified disability. Our K-12 student population is 10,104 students enrolled in MJUSD. Of this number, there are 1,444 identified students with a disability. The top 3 areas of disability are speech-language impaired, specific learning disability, and other health impaired. The remainder is made of a variety of other identified disabilities. In total, 14.3% of our student population is identified as having a disability. This is slightly higher than the state average of 13%. This slide is a representation of all service providers and teams of people who support our students with IEPs. As you can see, we have many highly trained specialists that provide many and important services. As needed, we contract out for services for the visually impaired and orientation mobility. Now, we'll talk about trends over the past few years in comparison to this year in our programs. This chart indicates the number of special education students enrolled in our programs over the past several years. This data shows the identification of students and at what grade level they were identified with a disability. As you can see, the highest number of students identified are represented in red. Students in kindergarten who missed the opportunity to attend preschool or daycare during COVID may not have had the exposure to academic readiness. This data is particularly interesting to note. The blue section indicates students transferring into our district with an IEP, which is much larger than students we identify as having a learning disability within the district. Next, we have the number of students exiting special education after an assessment and found to no longer qualify for special education services. This data does not include students who graduated from high school or transferred out of our district. This dataset includes our students who receive speech and language services only in blue shading. The red shading indicates the total number of students who receive speech services in addition to other services such as specialized academic instruction, occupational therapy, and adaptive PE. As previously mentioned, students with a specific learning disability is one of our 3 largest categories in which students qualified. We currently have 605 students with a specific learning disability. The goal for all students is to be educated in the least restrictive environment. The state of California has set thresholds and indicators that the majority of students should be in general education for 80% or more of their school day. The blue shading represents the number of students with a disability who are in general education for 80% or more. The red shading indicates the number of students in special education 40 to 79% of their day. The yellow shading indicates the number of students in general education less than 40% of their day. In this slide, you see a positive change will be for the red and yellow bands to go down and the blue to go up. Marysville Joint Unified operates the regional program for students with significant emotional disturbances. We operate 4 classrooms housed in our district. Currently, all students in this program are MJUSD students. However, we do take referrals from our neighboring districts as appropriate. This indicates the number of students in each program at each site for the past 5 years. In some instances, a student's need may be beyond the scope of what a comprehensive school site may be able to offer a student. In these instances, we are obligated to search for an appropriate placement to meet the needs of the student. We contract with several non-public schools in the region or neighboring states if needed to place students. This is the number of students placed in non-public school setting over the past 4 years. This year, we have contracts with the listed non-public schools to serve the unique needs of some of our students. This is a breakdown of costs for non-public school placements this year. This is the cost of contracted providers we have hired this year to meet the staffing needs of our students and their IEP requirements. We hired an in-house behaviorist beginning in March of 2023. This year, we identified action areas from surveys from our special education team and compliance intensive monitoring process with the California Department of Education. Progress in these areas are helping us move out of the intensive monitoring level to the targeted monitoring 3 level. These are some of the professional development opportunities that have been provided to the special education staff this school year. To increase our rates of IEP compliance to meet state requirements, we have engaged in the following supportive services to help our case managers and teams. MJUSD is in the process of 2 program transfers, one for preschool special education services and one for school-aged moderate to severe special day classrooms currently served by the Yuba County Office of Education. In 2020, MJUSD and YCOE were awarded the Inclusive Early Education Expansion Grant in the amount of approximately $2.5 million to increase the inclusion opportunities for preschool children. In July of 2023, the YCOE SDC preschool program will transfer to MJUSD. In the past 2 years, both YCOE and MJUSD attended professional development in the areas of inclusion and worked in partnership with the School Improvement Program to reduce barriers to inclusion through the EAP grant. MJUSD SDC preschool sites will be at Linda Elementary, Ella Elementary, Olivehurst Elementary, and Kynoch Elementary. All of the classrooms will be adjacent to the state preschool programs for maximum opportunities for inclusion. On March 1st, 2023, MJUSD requested a program transfer of the school-age moderate-severe SDC programs from YCOE with a transfer date in July of 2024. In the fall of 2022, a special education audit was conducted and fiscal analysis is ongoing through May of 2023. The purpose of the program transfer is for MJUSD to provide a continuum of special education services to our students. Currently, we offer a limited number of service options for students with mild to moderate disabilities. We are committed to supporting our students and offering a continuum of services to the students that reside in our attendance area. Additionally, many of the YCOE SDC programs currently operating are on MJUSD school sites. The asterisks indicate which classes are part of the proposed program transfer. The exception is Virginia School and services for the visually impaired. The total amount of excess costs is $11.4 million without deducting property taxes in the LCFF transfer, which would reduce the overall excess cost bill. In the fall of 2022, Yuba County Office of Education and Marysville Joint Unified contracted with an independent auditor to look at the special education services provided by both entities. As you know, Yuba County operates the special education programs for moderate to severe disabilities for students who live in the Marysville Joint attendance areas. This slide is an excerpt summarizing the types of services students receive and the ratios of adults to students. The purpose of this slide is to indicate which programs would transfer back to Marysville Joint Unified in the 2024 school year. On behalf of the entire Special Education Department, we appreciate the opportunity to present to you this evening and extend the invitation to visit any of our programs.
Thank you very much. I guess the question I have for you is how do you think the transition's going with the program being transferred from Yuba County Office of Education?
Are you referring to the preschool transfer?
I think it's going really well. We have done professional, especially I would like to thank Jolie Critchfield. She and the SIP program, we have semi-monthly meetings. We're working with inclusion specialists. We're co-teaching. Jolie has worked really hard with our unit members to adjust, their job ratings to help support those programs. There's been a good communication between YCOE, and then we have certain assurances that we had to complete in offering positions, and that went through on time. And we submitted our assurances to the SELPA and the board for Yuba County Office of Ed. So I believe it's been going well.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a question, and I might be wrong because I was looking at the graphs, and I'm going to ask the actual question first, and then I'm going to ask why, and it might make me look like an idiot. The question is, are we appropriately identifying SPED students on time? And the reason why I ask that is that when I look at the enrollment over the last 5 years, I see that there's about 160 students that went up in 2021 and 2022. And then I look at students identified by MJUSD, students moving into MJUSD. What I see is there's actually a drop from those years. And then I look at students exiting from special education, they went up. And then if I look at everywhere else, the only place that I see is that students with specific learning disability that went up. So I'm doing the math here, and I don't understand why the graph went up when everything else went down. So my assumption, it might be a built-in wrong assumption, is that the only way that could go up is that we identified more students that were in our district that went to special ed. Is that correct?
Our identification is up, and some of it, our teams, so typically you would hold SST meetings and then you would revisit. There's a lot of intervention that happens at school sites, and you look really closely at how the children are doing with intervention, and you're hoping that they'll get a tier 2 intervention, and then we work to be very critical and follow the guidelines for qualification. I will say the trend in the state, in the district coming out of COVID, we're seeing the impacts of COVID. And so many more referrals are coming in for assessment. So then you have to determine, is it exposure, is it COVID and lack of opportunity? And then can you do some low-level interventions in the general ed setting, which is usually the best instruction, right? And then when do you need to do that referral for the assessment? And then we do have more students, do you qualify under SLD, or specific learning disability?
Okay, so these are students that were already in our district. Does that mean that, I just want to get some sort of assurance that, does that mean that we weren't losing them, not catching them originally? Or is it because you mentioned COVID being part of the cause? Is that really the large contributor, or is it that we're just catching more students now?
I think, not having been in this position last year, I think our district did a good job of not exiting as many to make sure, because they didn't have those kids. They couldn't get their hands on those kids to see really how they were doing. They were looking at them virtually, and those were special ed services. So now, coming out of COVID, we really have to take a look at are they qualifying? Do they need to stay a little longer? But we've also done a lot of professional development in exit criteria this year, because that is.
But exiting doesn't explain the graph. We're getting more more special ed students internally. That was my concern. That means that we're either not catching them early on, or we're catching more students.
I think we're catching more this year because we're seeing an uptick in referrals and the need.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And that is a state trend.
Okay.
Sorry if it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah. Looking at the graph is quite nuanced, and I didn't want to make the wrong conclusion. That's why I wanted to ask the question.
Do we have any other questions from the board?
Yeah, Siobhan and your staff, great presentation. I just had a couple of questions. How are you setting right now for staffing? Where are you at?
Okay, so
Putting you on the spot, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
Ballpark it.
I had to think through my teams. We are fully staffed in our psych teams, behavior, I can run through the list. We have some special education teacher openings. We're looking fairly well. We only have a few in-house speech therapists, so we're gonna have to contract. We have openings posted for OT. Paras, we always have some turnover at this time, but decent. Sorry, I'm running through all the teams in my head. ERMS clinicians were staffed.
I know you need a lot,
Okay.
there's quite a few people, which is quite a bit of money, and you need money for this. I was running some numbers here just to double check, and that if us taking that sped back from the county actually gives us a little bit more than $2 million. And that could be used for teachers. Just saying,
Yes.
we're running a business here. So it's that, but how, in regards to that, how hard has it been for you to find those qualified teachers?
I would say all of our teachers, with the exception of 3, were fully credentialed. So we did have some gaps in 3 positions that come to mind. Where we're always searching for people is our in-person speech. That's the best way to provide the service, but so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the board? We have one public comment, Rachel Warmack.
Hello, my name is Rachel Wormack, and I am a mod severe teacher for YCOE. And I went through the audit, I was a participant in it. The auditor spent about 10 minutes in our classrooms, which 10 minutes can vary greatly in the time that you are there. I have 10 students in my class personally, with currently 5 paraeducators. And I started out the year in a wheelchair because I had sprained my ankle, but there was no one who could cover my job. So I was working full-time in my classroom with children with severe behaviors, children who go through glass windows, who are scratching my face routinely, and to look at that audit as purely numbers is a disservice to our students and to the staff that serve them. Taking back those programs not only affects the students, but the staff that are going to be taking over in the Marysville joint side. You are going to take the load not equally. They will be responsible for a lot more, and I don't want to do that to these hard workers here, and I don't want to do that to my team at YCOE. So please look at the personal side and look at what's best for the students, not just the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have 10.2 after-school programs presentation. It's 10 minutes.
Hi. I'm Pete Pintoa, the ACES coordinator. With me are Nikki Givens and Tori Vallejos and Lori Guy and Rocio Rodriguez are here, and we're part of the after-school program for the district. We're happy to show you some of the great things that we've been doing and we'll take your questions afterwards.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tori Vallejos, and I'm the secretary for the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program. I'm so happy to provide an overview of the wonderful things happening in our program. Let's start by getting to know the folks who make ELOP happen. Meet our office team. Nikki Givens, myself, Tori Vallejos, and Rocio Rodriguez. our coordinator extraordinaire, Pete Pantoja, Director, Lori Guy, and Assistant Superintendent, Jay Trujillo. Our shared mission is to create a safe, inclusive, and engaging environment for all students. And the folks who are turning those words into action are the site leads. We currently have 23 leads spread across our 17 sites, giving students experiences beyond the regular school day. They provide a safe and structured after-school environment while building positive relationships with students. They truly are amazing people. Our 2022 to 2023 budget allocation is as follows. ACES was awarded $2,084,687.67. ELOP was granted $10,337,133. And ESSER 3 was awarded $395,000. And we're putting this money to use directly serving our students. This year, the STARS and ACES program served 1,106 students. And ELOP served 1,505 students throughout our school district. We are so proud of these growing numbers and the services being provided. The after-school program provides students a place to learn new things and expand on their passions and talents. We provide homework help, recreation, enrichment, and supper meals, plus a safe, structured place for students after school. Over 80% of our parents strongly agree that their child is safe in the after-school program, that their student is completing their homework, and that they are satisfied with the program staff. We've implemented intercession during our school breaks. From 8 a.m. to 12:30, students receive classroom instruction by credentialed teachers. From 12:30 to 5 p.m., students are participating in enrichment activities provided by our STARS and ACES staff. Transportation is available to all students, along with breakfast, lunch, and supper meals. We give a theme to each session, and in April, we focused on Earth Day, where we made bee watering stations out of clay. This upcoming summer, we are taking TK through 6th grade students on an imagination vacation, where we plan to showcase different parts of the world. 7th and 8th grade students will get academic support, and 9th through 12th grade students will have the opportunity for credit recovery, credit acceleration, and SEL opportunities. We've already accomplished so many wonderful things this year. We've added before-school programs at 5 sites, after-school TK and kindergarten programs at 10 sites, FEV targeted tutoring, Saturday EL sessions, and over 50 teachers are hosting club and tutoring sessions from golf to STEAM, theater, and gardening. ELOP has provided a multitude of new enrichment opportunities, and we are adding more and more each week. Our goals for the upcoming school year are to add TK Kinder after-school programs at all sites, continue to grow our enrichment opportunities for students, expand our staffing, and in turn increase the amount of students we are able to serve. We are so excited for what's to come. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to share about our program.
So Tori Vallejos, right there, is the one responsible for that presentation. She's a super creative individual, and we're happy to have her on our team. So before I'll take your questions, if you have any questions, I just want to say that we have a tremendous staff and after-school staff that work and are dedicated to our students. And so I do want to acknowledge their work and dedication, and you should be proud of the things that they're doing at the different school sites. So I'll take any questions.
Well, thank you. The question I'd have for you is, you're looking to expand. What are you expecting for students when you're expanding? Is it doubling? Is it tripling? What are you expecting?
So our goal is to expand to more students that want and their families that need after school services. So our goal is to have that for any student that wants it. That's our goal. That's kind of the state goal, is to give the offer to any student that wants after school services. So that's a pretty high mark to meet, but we're trying to add staff to continue to grow and to offer more services to kids.
So would you have to expand your staff?
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of hiring. We had a very successful job fair with the help of Dr. Gabe. We've added, I believe it was 10 to 12 new staff members from that job fair. And so that's an ongoing assignment that we do. So we do that all year long, and we don't stop. We don't stop in the summer. We continue to hire. And so that's our goal, is to expand our staff so then we can offer more services.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the board? Thank you very much. A very good presentation.
Thank you guys so much, Kay.
Now we have updates by department. Business Services, Jennifer.
There we go. Thank you, Dr. Simon. I don't really have much for updates. We're just getting ready for the summer. We have summer projects in the maintenance department. Transportation's looking for a little bit of a break, but they'll be working the summer school program. And food services is gearing up for community dinner, supper meal. So thank you.
So how is it looking for our bus drivers? Will we have enough bus drivers?
For next year?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Taylor's working on it. He has a class going now with, I forgot how many drivers he has in there that he's training. He just talked to me today about 2 that are qualified drivers that he's looking to hire with Dr. Simon's assistant. So it's getting better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jennifer? Education Services, Jay?
President Davis, I am yielding my time to the Madam Director from Educational Services, Ms. Amy Stratton.
Thank you. Amy?
Good evening, Board, Trustees, and Dr. Falzerani. I have the great privilege to talk tonight about the California Community Schools Partnership Program. In February, under the leadership of Dr. Azrani, a group of district employees came together to work on a large grant. We had Bob Eckert working on it, Rob Greger, Jay, Lori, principals from 11 different sites, and basically all of Ed Services. We came together and we submitted hundreds of pages of documents, of backups. Each school site had 30-page plans that they had to submit by school site. And we got it all pulled together in a pretty short period of time with a lot of work. The grant was submitted in February, mid-February, and we found out last Friday, on May 18th, the state school board is going to approve the recipients of this competitive grant, and Marysville Joint Unified Schools District is going to receive $13.5 million for 10 school sites. And so, of course, that creates a lot of energy and a lot of excitement through the district. Some of the things we're going to do is we're going to expand our partnerships with our community agencies to focus on wellness for students. We are going to create community hubs to include parent education and support adult education for our families. We're going to put wellness centers at our schools to take care of not only our wellness needs, but in some cases, physical and health needs. And we're going to work on academic improvements, especially our graduation rates, lower our chronic absenteeism, our suspension rates, and really work hard on the transitions between schools, between elementary to middle, middle to high, high to career, college and career. And so we call this Project LEAP, L for leadership, E for education, A for accountability, and P for programs. We're very proud of what we did.
Well, thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Mr. Davis.
For Amy.
Mr. Davis, may I just add, I just want to clarify that it was not just at the direction of Dr. Ezrani. She was a full participant in the grant writing herself. I remember many nights when Fall, myself, and Amy were sharing notes, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, trying to meet the deadline. So she rolled up her sleeves just like many others did.
Well, thank you again. Personnel Services, Dr. Simon.
Hiring, lots of hiring. That's what we're doing. We're hiring lots of folks for current year for classified and certificate and classified for next year. Our teacher residency cohort is registering for classes to start at the end of June with UMass Global. We're excited about that. And we're going to continue to work collaboratively with our labor partners to button up 21-22 and jump right into 22-23.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Dr. Simon? Technology, Brian?
Just a couple of things. Mr. Zach Pless led a very productive student positive culture committee, which is going to be dealing with discipline as we move forward. We will be bringing a new discipline policy and a new cell phone policy after talking to that group and starting that process. You'll see more and more coming out of that particular group. So very excited about the approach that we're taking there, and I think we're going to see some really good things. And then second, we are currently in the middle of, and I'm going to let the cat out of the bag for some people, but our first fully successful phishing email test. I have to say that we've got about 13% of our people to click on the button when they shouldn't have, but we have been notified by many employees. It's not a bad start, to be honest, which I'm really, really proud of. Even had to let Dr. Ezrani know that, no, that was us, sorry, we're not under attack. So anyway, that's been going well. She did a great job. She notified me before ever clicking on a button. So, but that's been going, still got about 5 days to complete, so some people will still see it, we'll see, but it's been going really well.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Brian? Dr. Ezrani.
Thank you. Today was a lot to reflect on, and I think I'll take a long time to just kind of process what I heard today. I do, however, want to acknowledge our teachers. This Appreciation Week for them. That's what we do. We serve our teachers. I'm sorry that they don't feel that from me. I would like to give a recognition, a kind of a shout out to Becky Stewart. It's one more fabulous award for her and the program that she's built. This is graduations coming up, and our seniors today, we heard them for the last time today, and it's going to be wonderful to shake their hands as they walk across the table, as the stage. I think the last thing I'd like to say is a shout out to the team that presented tonight, all the presentations and the hard work that everybody is doing. And there's a lot of good work that's happening in the trenches, and I didn't want the response to me today to take away the work of the other people. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Ezrani? Okay, now we move into the approval of the April 20th, 23 special board meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Oh, I skipped everything. We'll move back to April 4th, the regular board meeting. Thank you for the, Anyway, are there any additions or corrections to the April 4th, 2023 board meeting minutes? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Ms. Hasty. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Yang. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Frank abstains. Passes 6-0. Now we move back to April 20th, 23, the special board meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Ms. Hasty. Is there a second? Second by Garrett Criddle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Frank abstains. Passes 6-0. There were no nays. And the approval of the consent agenda items. Are there any consent agenda items that the board would like to pull for further discussion? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Steeman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Now we move to new business. And we have the community call to action wellness, and we have a public comment from Angela Stiegel.
Is it you first or is it me first?
Actually, I think you first. That's what we'll do. And just a quick question. Are we going to have the call to action up here as part of your comments? Just curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
The call to action really is a culmination of relationships that we've been working with the school community. We recognize that when we all came back from COVID, there has been so much trauma in our schools. There's been so much trauma in the classrooms. There's been so much trauma all across the district, just with our students and our families and our staff having to feel the impacts of COVID. And we recognize that even though we keep working on our policies or our practices, or we're trying to put support in the schools, our schools can't do it alone. Our schools and our classrooms and our teachers can't just do it alone. And so the work has been to reach out to the community partners, Yuba County Office of Education, Yuba County Health and Human Services, and going all the way to Washington, D.C., as we did, to gather support from Congressman Namalfa, Assemblyman Gallagher, and everybody over here, elected officials, to say that please make sure that you pay attention to our schools. Please give us all the support we need to bring all the resources, whatever that might be in the community, so that we can work together to build our schools back to the way they used to be and give the support to our staff. We also have all intentions, as you heard today, that we got this grant of $13.5 million. It was already written in advance of this call to action. It was done to bring more resources to our schools and our classrooms and our teachers to support some of the very things we're hearing today. Our goal is that with this, you see something, do something. It means that apart from just talking about it, we are able to step up and take action. What's written in the call to action is layers of work to do with parent education, teacher support, teacher training, administrative training, student voice in bringing some aspects of their voice of what's going on in the schools into a coordinated effort across the community. What we are very proud of is that we believe, and we know, we are the first community, the first school district, and the first county to have said that wellness is the #1 impact right now. How adults and our children and the families are feeling is something immense. We heard today a lot of concerns from our teachers. Obviously, the work that I'm doing is not resonating. And I think the important part of this is going forward as we go into this deeper work is to listen closely as to how we roll out this call to action. That work is going to be from the trench up, in the trenches and building up, and that's started with the discipline committee that was put in place earlier this semester to start looking at what does the data say. And so the call to action is really our pledge as a community and a school district that we are not alone in this work, that the wellness of our students, our adults, and our families is a collective responsibility of the whole community, and we should come together to work on that. So really proud of the support we've received, and I'm hoping that this action alone will be able to bridge some of the gaps I heard about today, some of the concerns that were voiced about me. Obviously, I'm not there yet, and I need to be able to get there with them and be able to work on this, because this is really the big issue that's in the schools right now in every single classroom, and the concerns that we're hearing in our district and across the nation.
I would like to just add one more thing. we've also got an invite for Xavier Becerra, which you may know is the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services, is very interested in listening and looking at what we're doing here locally, which is a huge thing for us. In addition to what Dr. Asrani mentioned with other supports, we've also got Kevin Kiley, who we spent a good amount of time with, and he's very interested in what we're doing here. This is something that's very new that we're going into, that everybody seems to be jumping on board. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Stiegel.
Good evening again. Angela Stiegel, still president for the Marysville Unified Teachers Association. And I just would like to bring it to the board's attention, although I would assume you already know. I would assume also that the superintendent also knows, but I'm not sure that everybody within the sound of my voice knows that on your call to action, there are some glaring omissions from your call to action. There are over 38 signatures on that, not a one of which represents any of your labor groups within the district. All the people who are supposed to be working with the students, not a one of them represented. Not a single PTA, PTSO president, the parents of the students for which we're going to be working. Not a single one of them. And so your call to action, as Dr. Asrani was just talking about, she's disappointed that she's not making the connection that she had hoped. Well, there's not much of a connection when you have a call to action that directly impacts teachers, directly impacts our students, directly impacts parents, and those are the people you leave off. But we made sure to get every single politician. Thanks.
I think this is a very important response, Ms. Stiegel. The call to action is not the implementation plan. It's the people who've holding the resources of whether it be funding, whether it be additional ways of bringing training, supports. If you look at the people there, none of them are even our own department leads. This is all people in the community saying, we are coming to the school district to help the school district. So it isn't any of our team members on that either. We know we can't do the work just by ourselves. It's got to be everybody else. So I wanted to clarify, this wasn't about our people. It's telling people around outside our district saying, take responsibility for us, own our children, own our families, own our teachers. We can't do this alone. The work after this will have to happen with our teachers and will have to happen with our people. I just want to clarify that. If I didn't, then I remiss.
Thank you.
Well, and I did pay attention. I did have a little bit of time left on my 3 minutes, so I think if we're going to respond back and forth to each other, that's fine. But I would beg to differ with the characterization that was just put out there, considering one of the skills I have as an English teacher is the fact that I'm literate and I can read the call to action that's right here on my phone. And I beg to differ that this is all just asking people to, provide money. One of the first things on here says increase staff education on ways to address bullying behavior from the onset and create safe spaces for students to report these behaviors. Increase staff education. That's us. And then on top of that, continue best practices and evidence-based programs to support consistent and appropriate consequences for escalating behavior issues. There again, those are your classroom teachers, your para-educators, your bus drivers, your school nurses, your secretaries, your site admin. Just saying. But I believe that speaking the truth about something and trying to shed light on the truth of a matter is seen as something worse than that. But still, that's the information that I have for you. And like I said, everybody within the sound of my voice.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Dr. Asrani? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved. Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Steeman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Now we're at approve the board resolution 2022-23/32 proclaiming May 8 through 12, 2023 Student Health Awareness Week. Do we have any staff? Thank you, guys. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Zachary Pless. I'm the Director of Student Welfare and Attendance for Marysville.
Rob Greger, Director of Wellness.
The resolution that you guys have in front of you is more of a recognition of just the need of the student health that we have. It was some call to action from the state, and we wanted to make sure that we in Marysville were also acknowledging that this is a big need that we're really seeing, and I think some of our wellness centers and pieces that we're putting in place show their commitment towards those. Are there any questions from the board that we can answer?
Are there any questions from the board? Dr. Azrani? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Steven. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're at 16.3, 2023-24 CIF Pioneer Valley League representatives. Do we have any staff on this? If not,
It's just that every year, the high schools have to represent members to the Pioneer League, so they have been listed on this document.
are there any questions for Dr. Asrani? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Gary Criddle. Is there a second?
It's Frank.
Apologize. Thank you, Frank. Motion by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second by Gary Criddle. I'll get my act here. Doug. I'm not doing it. I know, they're twins. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank goodness. Now we have Education Services. Present and approve English Learner Master Plan for the 2023-26 school years. Please introduce yourself.
Hector Gonzalez. Thank you so much. I have a video. I'll let it play and then I'll entertain any questions.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Board President, Mr. Davis, Dr. Asrani, Mr. Trujillo, colleagues and members of the audience. My name is Hector Gonzalez. I'm the Director of English Learner and Student Supports. It is my pleasure to present to you this evening the Marysville Joint Unified School District's 2023-2026 English Learner Master Plan. Who are our ELs? In 2022, 10,377 students were enrolled in Marysville. Of that, 1,770 EL students are classified as EL, make up about 18% of our student population. In 2022, about 10% of our ELs were reclassified. 1,866 students at Marysville speak a language other than English as reported on Home Language Survey. In fact, 29 different languages are spoken. Of our ELs, 80% speak Spanish, 13% speak Hmong, and 1.3% speak Punjabi. Our EL Master Plan has 6 chapters, which I will identify individually as we go through this presentation. Chapter 1 focuses on identification, assessment, and placement to identify the process for initial identification, parent notification, assessment, and program placement of ELs. The initial identification and program placement of English learner begins with a home language survey, an initial English language proficiency assessment for California, LPAC, This allows district personnel to determine the most appropriate placement for ELs. A summative LPAC is given each year to assess the EL's progress towards English language proficiency. Instruction for ELs is firmly grounded in the 2012 California English Language Development Standards, with a focus on providing access to grade level content through rich, rigorous, integrated, and designated instruction to promote English language proficiency. Chapter 2 is regarding teaching and learning. The purpose of this chapter is to describe the program options available to English learners. Parents have rights, and we need to help parents understand what EL program options we offer so that parents can fully participate in the decision-making when placing their child in an EL program. The ultimate goal of each program option is for ELs to attain English proficiency and master grade level standards. Specifically, each program option prepares students to participate fully in core curriculum, and eventually we want them to fully participate in A through G courses and to graduate from high school ready for college and career. All students are placed in academic settings designed to meet their linguistic and instructional needs. TK receives 20 minutes per day, and K, full day through 6th grade, receive at least 30 minutes of daily designated ELD instruction. 7th through 12th grades receive 2 hours per day if students are at level 1 of their first year. After that, they receive 1 hour ELD designated time per day. ELD instruction should have high rigor, hands-on learning, meaningful content, and rich in language production. Chapter 3 focuses on standards, assessments, monitoring, and reclassifications. Schools have the obligation to monitor and regularly assess the progress of ELs in both English language proficiency and content knowledge. This includes conducting an annual assessment and measuring their performance in grade level content areas. MJUSD is striving to create a cyclical series of tools specifically to monitor EL's progress over time, to monitor when students are not making appropriate progress, as well as to provide additional support to enable them to reach English proficiency and gain grade level core content instruction, and remedying any academic deficits in a timely manner through a multi-tier support system in order to ensure that EL students do not incur irreparable academic deficits. When do we reclassify students? Reclassification window opens up in August through January. Our elementary and our secondary schools have the same criteria. Students must score a summative LPAC score level of 4. Teachers must attest that the students have demonstrated all the basic skills. Parent notification will be given to parents and invited to a reclassification meeting. District benchmarks must be met as well, or the school has the option to choose standards that have met the basic skills, and our principals must approve that. There's also the possibility if students have an IEP, the IEP team can make the recommendation for reclassification. Chapter 4 of the EL Master Plan focuses on hiring the best qualified teachers and supporting them with effective research-based professional development to prepare and empower our educators to support our English learners' growth and access to content-rich learning. This chapter identifies the key staff members who are responsible for the implementation, progress monitoring, and evaluation of the district's program for our ELs. In this picture, we have our teachers who received a summer PD regarding Be Glad. Chapter 5 of the EL Master Plan focuses on parent and community engagement and the many ways in which MJUSD involves the parents and guardians of our ELs in their educational pathways. This includes both school-side English Learner Advisory Committees, ELAC, and the District English Learner Advisory Committee, DLAC. In order to ensure effective communication with our EL parents and guardians, the district provides translation and interpretation services. The superintendent meets with school-side EL parents through the multicultural meetings to give parents a voice. Many of the EL parents have expressed how important and meaningful this has been to them. They're very grateful. Thank you. Chapter 6 of the EL Master Plan focuses on the funding sources that support English learners and immigrant students. Funds are allocated following the mandate prescribed by the Education Code, state regulations, and district policies. Categorical funds are used to supplement the base educational program and not to supplant general fund monies. The core program is supported by the general fund. Expenditures are audited annually by the district's business office and by external auditors. The end goal is for our students to be reclassified and eventually to graduate. With this, I close my presentation. I thank everyone for your attention. I'll entertain any questions the board may have now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The question I have for you, sir, is the staffing. Do you have any idea what you're looking at staffing?
Staffing?
Staffing.
So as far as staffing, we have our teachers that are here. What we do need to do is provide support and training for our teachers. One, to understand the difference between integrated and designated. The other is just a different like elevation, which is what we're using to really look at data. They also need training on that. And the other thing that I've kind of posed for myself for next year is to work with the administrator just to help out at the sites. I've had several teachers call me in regards to the integrated and designated. I've participated in leadership teams to help out, to help and support our schools. But as far as staffing, yeah, I think our teachers are cladded, which is what's really important, and just to continue to do the hard work that they're doing.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the presenter?
Just a quick question. I don't know if you have this information or not. I'm curious what the reclassification rates are, if they're going up, if they're going down, what are they doing?
Yeah, actually, that's a really great question. In fact, I'd like to share a couple of more things that I put in the presentation. One of which, between last year and this year, we have reclassified 484 students. So that's the hard work that the teachers are doing, administrators, and everybody's really focusing on that. Is there more work to be done? Absolutely. But I think we're off to a great start. One of the things that we've been doing is working really diligently with our DLAC and ELAC. Our parent participation has increased, which is really important. Our multicultural meetings that we've been holding, Dr. Asrani started doing this via Zoom. Our EL parents asked if we could be done in person. She absolutely said yes, and she's like, Hector, let's work on this. And so we have been meeting with parents. I think Dr. Asrani and myself have met with over 300 parents. We've been going to the sites and meeting with them to hear how things are going, what can we do to improve, and so on. We also have PK. We've had for high school, for junior high, and for elementary. We're planning those sessions for next year as well, so our parents are very involved. This year I was able to take 5 parents, a principal, and a teacher to CABE, which is the California Association for Bilingual Education. And it was a great presentation, everything that we learned over there. So we have many things that are just happening that are taking place here in district that I wanted to bring recognition to.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I just had one question. The English Learner Master Plan packet was ginormous, and I did not read it, I'm going to confess. But I did skim through it, and I just want to make sure everybody understands that I understood the theme of tonight. I mean, the resounding theme for tonight is the lack of shared governance. And so I'm going to ask a question that's related to that topic of shared governance, meaning that we get input from everybody. From your presentation, you noted that 13% of the EL students were Hmong speakers.
Correct.
But if I look at page 60 on the master plan, looking at the inputs from the parents, I see that there is no Hmong parents' name on it. Yeah. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that if we want to talk about equity, we want to talk about fairness, I make sure I look to make sure that it is there and there is shared governance. So my challenge back to you is that I want to make sure that we eventually reach parity. Right? And for those who don't know what parity is that there's the same level of representation as the percentage of those who are in the mix who are getting that service. And that's it.
Correct. If I can address that real quickly. So Dr. Asrani did ask me to meet with our Hmong Center up in Olivehurst, and I did meet with them. We are setting up a dinner to meet with them. So I met with the grandparents, and it was a great conversation. They took me in, and we are scheduled to go back in. And that was exactly my question. We are really struggling to get our Hmong population to be part of at the table, sitting at the table. So we are meeting with them again. We're going to break bread and hopefully build those relationships and begin to increase that relationship with our parents, our Hmong parent community.
When I was at Cedar Lane, I worked a lot with the Hmong community, and we put together a community garden that's over on Cottonwood, just south of the Cedar Lane School. Over there, it's several acres. That we eventually got over to them. So they're paying the water bills and all that stuff and registrations and stuff. But they, I think, would be very open to having you come over and talk with them. Yeah, they love that.
Thank you.
So that is a goal. We definitely want to do that.
Any other questions from the board? Very good presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Chang. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Now we're at 17.2. Approve the agreement with AEI Speakers Bureau for the 2022-23 school year. Do we have staff?
Yes, I'm Lori Guy, Director of Data and Student Improvement. And one of our focuses this year has been on literacy. We've put a huge effort into the TK3 literacy plan, which you'll hear about at the next meeting. But we want to make sure that we have literacy training for all of our staff. And our 7th through 12th grade teachers have been asking for help with strategies for students that need help and support with writing and reading in their content areas. So it crosses all content areas. Dr. McKnight is an international dynamic speaker. She does keynotes across the country for big conferences, and she focuses on literacy for the big kids. We were fortunate to have her in August before our PD days, and we had 95 teachers attend her training. Of those teachers, they've completed feedback. 100% said they learned a new technique or strategy that can be used in their classroom. 95% were satisfied with the session and would recommend it to others. So one of the things they also said is they didn't just want to have a training one time with her. So we want to bring her back for June 5th. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Are there any questions for Lori? If not, do I hear a motion? Approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second by Allison Hasty. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you. We're at 17.3. Approve the agreement with San Joaquin County Office of Education, SEIS/SIS Integration Services for the July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2026 school years. Do we have staff?
I can actually speak to that. SACE is the special ed student information system where they keep track of all their IEPs. And to make sure that the especially demographic but also SPED data is synced between ARIES, which is our student information system, and SACE. We set up this partnership with San Joaquin County Office of Ed. They run the SACE program, and this is what allows us to make sure that we have accurate data. I can tell you that the differences that we found when we first started this were rather dramatic. Oftentimes things would get fixed in one and not in the other, and so having this to make sure that that data is always synced has been very, very beneficial for us.
Are there any questions for Brian? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second. Second by Gary Criddle. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? It was Doug Criddle. I get them mixed up. Passes 6-0. 17.4, approve and adopt the board policy 5141.32, health screening for school entry. This is our second read. Do we have any staff for this? And we've had the first read, so it's really.
Do you have any questions? Yeah, we're just trying to we're just updating with CSBA language and trying to get these up to date is what we're doing. And so we submitted the first one for you to look over, and obviously now you're looking at it in a clean version.
Are there any questions for Rob? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second by the real Gary Criddle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Now we have the approval of the 17.5, approve and adopt board policy 5141.21, administering medication monitoring health conditions. This is the second read. Is there any questions for Rob? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second.
Which Criddle?
The second's by the Criddles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Now we have 17.6, approve and adopt board policy 5145.12, search and seizure. This is the second read. Are there any questions for Zach?
Again, just basic updates. No major change in policy or plans.
If there's no questions, do I hear a motion? Motion approved. I am, Frank Crawford made the motion. Doug Criddle is the second. No, I'm going to give up.
Allison Hasty.
Allison Hasty instead of Doug Criddle seconded it.
Frank second.
I don't know. I think it's ready. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. This is crazy. All right, we're at 17.7, approve and adopt board policy 5142, safety. Are there any questions for Zach? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by.
We're doing great.
Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second by Allison Hasty. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Now we have 17.8, approve and adopt board policy 5112.3, student leave of absence. This is a second read. Are there any questions for Zach? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Who's going to do the second? Mr. Steeman does the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Now we have some first reads of board policy review. The first one is board policy 6158, independent study. Do we have staff?
That one's on me too. So I did bring you guys a copy of a potential first read for independent study earlier in the fall, but that was before CSBA put out their official piece, so we withdrew that, and then this is the one that's through CSBA. This is what was a mandate. There were some changes in independent study, obviously during COVID, and so some of those things that they changed during COVID times remained. Other things were brought back to some of the older standards prior to COVID. So part of our way of making sure that we're funded for any independent study attendance codes is we do have to update our policy this year. So it's a necessary one for us to update before this fiscal year ends.
Are there any questions for Zach? Okay, this is a review.
Yeah, we'll bring it back to you guys in June for the second read.
So we're at 1710, complete the first read for the Marysville Joint Unified School District graduate profile. Jay?
Yes, sir. Good evening, President Davis, Dr. Ronnie, my colleagues, and members of the audience and the community. You've been hearing me talk about this for quite a bit now, and that is a graduate profile. And finally, after working on it through the totality of this year, I have something to share. If you recall, the graduate profile was first introduced last year in June when the board approved the strategic plan for the district. The graduate profile was one of the key actions in that strategic plan. The graduate profile is designed to highlight the aspirations that our community, including parents, staff, administrators, business leaders, essentially everyone within the Marysville Joint Unified, what is it that we aspire for our graduating seniors so that they can be successful upon their 12 years or 13, actually 14 now if you include TK, years of education, so that they can be successful in the world of work, college and career, you might think, successful interpersonally, socially, throughout their lives. You see here a visual representation of the graduate profile, and I just want to highlight 4 essential features. I won't read it to you. I know you have a copy there in your handout materials, but what you'll first see are the 5 broad traits that have been prioritized by our community. Under each of those 5 broad traits, you will see a description or a key statement representing what that trait means. The feature that's most highlighted is what we're calling the student voice statements. That is, the student voice statements are intended to draw students into the learning process and to also help them to take some responsibility to this thing that we call learning. And then at the very bottom, you'll see 5 symbols or representations. Those were specifically added or included in this graduate profile because we recognize that not all students are immediately can read. And so the icons or the symbols are meant to be accessible and or applicable for students of all ages, including TK or kindergarten. There was a broad representation of input from our community, which included a survey which was given in the fall. We had over 550 responses in that survey. And that survey identified for us specifically the graduate competencies that were prioritized. And what you'll see you don't see it here on the slide, but you do see it in your materials, those specific competencies that our community identified as the most important. Importantly, everything that you see listed on the table on your handout had 80% agreement as to its overall importance. After identifying the competencies for the students, we engage in a backward mapping process. The backward mapping process is simply a way for us to think about the end in mind and what is it that we have to do backwards to ensure that students upon their 12 years or 13 of schooling arrive right where we want them to be. We broke up into grade spans, and for each of 4 different grade spans, we have, think of it as a unifying theme or a call to action, if you will, for each of those grade spans. They're listed for you there. The timeline, you've heard me talk about the graduate profile several times throughout the year. This simply is showing you the key actions or the activities that we have undertaken throughout the entire year. Of course, it began with last June, and right now we are in May. And between now and the end of May, we are collecting input from anybody who wants to give it before we finalize this. The most heavy lifting, I would say, maybe the most critical work was that work completed by our teachers. That is, the gradual visual representation is easy, right? So we have it, but we want it to be, we want it to live in classrooms and in schools. So we brought together teams of teachers, over 30, to help us do this. And what they did is, again, we broke up into these grade level spans. And in these grade level spans, they identified the sample tasks and or activities and measurements that teachers can do or currently are doing already in their classrooms. So the idea wasn't necessarily to bring something new for people to do, but simply to help frame that those things that they are already doing are the things that already tie to the graduate profile. It's about narrowing the work, narrowing the focus, and removing some of the clutter, maybe removing some of that initiative fatigue when there's just too many things that are on the table. The graduate profile is meant to try to help streamline that purposefully. These exist for each of the grade spans, and again, this was the essential work that our teacher leaders representing all of our schools and most of our subject areas completed. This is a partial list of those who have had contribution to this work. I just want to take this moment here to thank them, because without their efforts, of course, we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't have this document that you see before you. And as mentioned, between now and the end of this month, we are inviting anyone who has some feedback for us to submit it via this QR code. And then, of course, we'll take that into consideration and make any adjustments, and then bring you the final document in June at our very next board meeting. I'll take any questions.
A quick question, please. Could you go back to the 4 levels and just share with the board and the community each of the areas and how they're named?
Yeah, thank you.
Because I think we need to do that.
Yeah, thank you. This sort of coincides with that idea of backwards mapping. So for example, in TK3, the theme, if you will, our call to action is building blocks to literacy. So the idea of all students reading at grade level by the end of 3rd grade, that is the essential work for TK3. For grades 4 and 5, the idea is to help students develop as independent learners. Independent learners are those who know how to take appropriate actions in the schools, in our classrooms, in order to achieve the learning goals that our teachers identify for them. In grades 6 through 8, the idea is connecting their experiences, which now begins in middle school, to their future, so that they don't see this as a bunch of disconnected activity or assignments, but it's all geared towards preparing them for their future, and specifically for transitioning to high school. And then in high school, of course, we want every student to graduate from Marysville Joint with a plan for their future. There's nothing more scary than to finish school and not knowing what you're going to do. We don't want that to be the case for our graduates, and so that's why that theme about knowing where I am going is central for our students.
Are there any questions for Jay?
Dr. Yang, yes, sir?
Yeah, I just had one, and it's not really a question, but more of a challenge.
Yes.
I noticed that in the packet, and you didn't mention it, so I don't know whether there is a plan for it or not, but the mechanism to provide feedback is very technologically centered. So it elicits and it encourages only a specific group of feedback those who are technologically challenged enough to actually run the QR code and go to the site. Is there a plan to actually contact other community members, the parents and everybody else who aren't as technologically literate in order to provide feedback as well?
Yeah, I would, Dr. Yang, we have conducted well over probably 20 to 30 different meetings at different school communities to engage personally with our parents as well as with our teachers on the graduate profile traits and competencies. So I might say that there has been ample. There isn't a formalized process at this moment to collect that feedback, but with that challenge, we'll go back and see if we can't put something to the table and collect it, not just electronically, but otherwise for those folks for this final document.
So how well was the representation of those groups that were solicited with feedback? Because what I don't want, and I'm not saying that this isn't a great document, this is a very great document. I think it's a great direction. The concern that I would have would be is that we don't create a structure that disadvantages one group over another because they didn't get proper feedback.
Sure. We've shared this with many of our school site councils. We've shared it with many of our ELAC and DLAC meetings. We've shared it with all of our faculties. We've had specialized meetings where all of our community members were invited in different locations throughout the school districts. So I would say that there has been multiple opportunities for all of our community members and parents and students to be a part of. I didn't highlight that either, but we've also included students in the process of collecting input for the graduate profile.
Any other questions for Jay? Well, I would just suggest that the board members look this packet over. Is this on the web?
It is not on the web, but it is accessible through that QR code.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be sending it out to all staff and parents as early as tomorrow. We just wanted to do it first with the board members this evening. Feedback form? We'll be sure to add it. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you for catching that.
If there's no other questions, thank you very much, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
All night for this.
We're at 18.1, personnel. Approve the side letter agreement between MJUSD and OE3 Shady Creek.
Yes, thank you. This is an agreement we reached with Operating Engineers 3 who represent our health aides. They provide a vital support to this overnight field trip. Great experience for our students, I believe in the upper elementary grades, provide medical support and dispense medications, provide health support in the case of emergencies and non-emergencies. So we're glad to support them. Appreciate their service.
Are there any questions for Dr. Simon? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Doug Criddle seconds. I give up. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 7-0. Now we are at public comments. We have several public comments. This is Tiffany Batista.
Thank you. I turned mine in early, so I get to be first. I am here to express my sincere hope that ongoing negotiations can be concluded swiftly, considering the crucial importance to our district's continued success. I want to highlight the significant number of teachers, including myself, who commute from surrounding areas. Their commitment and dedication deserve our utmost appreciation, particularly this week. I urge the board to consider the unique circumstances faced by these educators, as lengthy negotiations add strain to our personal and professional lives. In neighboring districts,
Compensation packages are structured differently, with some offering one-to-one placement on pay scales based on years of service. Others recognize fewer but have overall higher pay. In some of these cases, making several steps back on a salary schedule is a unilateral move in terms of pay. We must ensure Marysville remains competitive and fair during this teacher shortage, properly rewarding teachers for their expertise and dedication. My genuine concern lies with the drawn-out timeline of our negotiations. I fear that I will have obtained tenure in my new district before this year's negotiations are finalized. Expediting these negotiations is necessary to prioritize the well-being of your educators as well as ensure the continued success of our students. As I bid farewell to the district that has been my home since kindergarten, I remain confident that negotiation teams can come together to move forward towards a better future for your employees and students. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Alicia Tyndall.
Good evening. It's nice to see you all. As this school year comes to an end, I am confident I speak for the majority of teachers when I say that I'm confused about and concerned that we're still negotiating last year's contract language, as we shouldn't be finishing this school year without even starting negotiations about this year's contract. I understand that public education and educators are struggling across the country, not just here, it's all over the news. And we see the cause for the struggles every day. Our daily challenges are no doubt increasing. As a teacher in my 20th year, I've never had challenges like I've had this year, and I said that last year too. I have 10 of 28 fourth grade learners on IEPs this year. That's more than a third of my class. I've attended 21 IEP, SST, or cost meetings for academically and behaviorally challenged learners, which is a lot. This is by far the lowest academic class I've ever taught, and I'm hearing that from teacher friends all over. In addition to academic challenges, we have learners at our TK through 5th grade elementary school vaping in our bathrooms, elementary age learners sending nude pictures via social media, and the ramifications of that is very present in my classroom. We have learners defecating on themselves in class. We have children with their hands down their pants in the classroom. Shocking, uncomfortable, disturbing things that are happening that we're dealing with and trying to help with, in addition to just teaching. All while we're being publicly scrutinized on various social media platforms, and personally while hosting a student teacher and trying to model how to handle these situations, as she will undoubtedly be facing them next year in our district. I can't even imagine facing some of these challenges as a new teacher. We have to learn how to compartmentalize all of the difficult things we encounter daily so we can go home to our families and community programs where we volunteer, and we have to be able to be functional and present and positive for them too. I truly believe public education is at a crossroads. We have colleagues seriously considering leaving the profession for other jobs that are emotionally less exhausting for equal or even lesser pay. And if we don't take serious action in increasing value on educators, I really worry about how public education is going to sustain. So please take steps that will help improve public education right here. Take steps that will help us attract and retain competent colleagues in all the various positions and levels who are all deserving of a substantial COLA, who we can trust to support and help each other and our learners. Please settle last year's contract and move forward with a substantial COLA for this year. We are concerned where that 13% augmented COLA is right now and what will happen with that if it's not settled soon. We really don't want to fight. We just want to teach and to be treated and compensated appropriately for the jobs that we are doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
Are those,
They're pulled out for special services and special interventions that we have at school. I do not. Yeah.
thank you. We have Thomas Tucker.
Good evening, board members, staff, audience. My name's Tom Tucker, 1495 Broadway Road, Arboga. I would like to deliver, if I could get staff to help me, give a copy of a letter and some correspondence to the board members. Thank you, sir. We have an ongoing problem. A lot of you board members have been to Arboga School. A few of you I've not seen at Arboga School, but the traffic is just ferocious. You can't get through. I've seen stuff where traffic passes the opposite way, kids trying to cross the road, extreme congestion at Arboga Road. If on my letter, when you have a chance, the superintendent set up a couple meetings. We had some meetings. I went and sent this letter. After about 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks, I got no correspondence back from the letter from the superintendent. And I was requesting her to reply to my letter. It's marked item number 1 on the email correspondence. Item number 2, she texts back, tells me that she pulled together the county and she's got support from the sheriff's office, et cetera, et cetera. Then I go to the 3rd email, and this is what's disturbing. I feel that I'm not getting any answers. I feel that it's an avoidance to answer the questions I ask. I asked her, please, do you have any planned meetings scheduled with the county addressing the traffic concerns? And if so, I'd like to attend. Question number 1. Number 2, I'd also like to know if the district or the county conformed with CEQA filing a negative dec or mitigated declaration per CEQA requirements. Still no answer. Today is now approximately 2-3 weeks later now, and I'm still waiting for an answer on that. I deal with a lot of public and private agencies in my business, and I'm not accustomed to not getting responsive answers. So I would like you to look at the letter, and I'd like to be a contact person that would respond to me and let me know the status of what we're doing at Arboga School. It's unfair to the taxpayer to support bonds, pay a bonds, school district create a problem and then not mitigate that problem and say it's not their problem. Yes, it is your problem. You increased it. Arboga Road's a dead-end street. There's only one way in, one way out, and it needs to be resolved. You're going to add additional couple hundred trips with 100 students, and the majority of them are all taken to school by automobile. You're going to add more congestion and more traffic, and it's going to blow over to road rage, or there'll be an accident, or somebody may get injured. So it needs to be addressed. It doesn't need to be avoided.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Just a quick response to this one. I know that we met with the sheriffs. I know they came out and they did a traffic watch. Ms. Pacelia, could you give a quick update about the meeting you had there a couple of weeks ago? Or a month ago? Whenever that last meeting was, I was not able to attend.
It's on the letter. It tells you the dates of the meeting.
So there's more update after that because we've been speaking to the county. They've been telling us about, do you have that information? Okay, so let me respond. So when county came out, they talked about the streets. So we did talk to the county folks that will go back out again and look at which part of the roads they'd be able to do something about Unfortunately, the district is not charged of the county road, so we can't make improvements, but we are working with the two agencies, both the sheriffs and the county, and it's taking a little time.
I know school's going to be out shortly, and it's going to be a non-issue. And then when you add the 8th grade to our bogus school, it's going to create another nightmare. So I would like to be involved. I do work with a lot of developers. I work with traffic engineers. That's my forte. And so I would like to see what plan you come up with. Maybe I might have some insight. I've done $80 million worth of development, and they all have CEQA issues, and I deal with that regularly. Now, the school district is required to file a CEQA document, either a DEC or a neg DEC. Has that been done for a bogus school?
For the expansion of our BOGA, is that the question?
Yes.
Yes, that was required when we did the building.
And what did the can I get a copy of it? It didn't address any traffic issues?
I can pull it and
CEQA's
find it.
number one thing they addressed is traffic.
I'm sure we have it with all our facility documentation, and I'll find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't I do this? Why don't I go back to my office tomorrow morning and make sure that we set a meeting up for you by the end of this week, and I'll try to get the county back to the table. There has been some change in their personnel as well, so let me check and see what the slowdown is about. But as you've seen, we have not really ignored it. We just unfortunately have other agencies that are working with us to address this issue. So let us get back to you this week and set up a meeting and see what we can do with this.
That's all I would like, is to be kept informed and be involved.
Absolutely. You were involved the last time. We'll make sure we don't forget you this time.
All right.
Mr. Tucker?
Someone be responsive to my questions on my email.
We will be. Thank you.
Mr. Tucker? Mr. Tucker, we had at least 2 meetings at our bogus school. We had at least 2 meetings at our bogus school at which...
I was there.
Okay, so...
Yeah, I'm one of the principal speakers there.
Okay, excellent. Good, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tammy Strolzini. I'm sorry if I... Good.
Good evening, board members. I am Tammy Strolzini, 30-year teaching veteran, currently teaching at our bogus school, so I totally understand that traffic nightmare. And I'm Yuba bargaining co-chair. I thought I was going to come to you tonight and speak on the ability to attract and retain qualified educators in the district, but instead I find myself needing to tell a cautionary tale to any prospective educators believing that if you come to MJUSD, you can expect close to a 30% salary increase in just 6 years. At least that is what the comments published in today's appeal Democrat lead one to believe. The article reads, according to district officials, Marysville Joint Unified Teachers have received cost of living increases totaling 28.47% in the past 6 years, plus an additional 8% in scheduled increases. Any prospective educator would look at that information and jump on that disillusioned opportunity. As an educator in this district for over 30 years now and part of the negotiating team for the past 5, I'd like to break down those past 6 years of settlements where our teachers received on schedule ongoing salary increases. 2016-17, 3.47. 17-18, 3%. 18-19, 2%. 19-20, 2%. 2021, 0%. 21-22, 5%. These are minimal amounts when you take a close look at the rates of inflation, especially over the past few years, and they do not total up to 28.47%. Even if you include the one-time off-schedule payments, which are similar to receiving maybe a holiday bonus, the numbers still do not add up. In addition, please realize that increases to step and column on our salary schedules are not the same as a salary increase. Our salary schedule is built to reflect competitive salaries commensurate with our education, additional training, and years of experience. The only cost of living increases that should have been included in that article are the above listed amounts that the MUTA bargaining team has had to fight tooth and nail for over months of negotiations every year. That averages to a meager 2.5% increase per year over that time span, when inflation has risen even higher in that same time frame, an average of 3.3% between 2016 and now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The most disturbing part of this entire thing is that the 22-23 school year is quickly coming to a close, and we've not even begun to discuss salary proposals for this year. This year, when the district has already received a 13.26 augmented COLA that is in your coffers and collecting interest. In a district that is attempting to gain its employees' trust and touts transparency, I was deeply saddened, frustrated, and angered at the twisted, inaccurate data that was presented in the newspaper article.
Thank you. Angela Stiegel. You. The board will adjourn and we will reconvene at 8:10.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Thank you, Angela Stiegel. You. The board will adjourn and we will reconvene.